Is there anything that would like intimidate you in football these days?
Honestly, not much. I think like a lot of times at this age, I see challenges as more of a positive thing than something that intimidates me. So when I'm playing against, like the Niners coming up this week, when I'm playing against a guy like Trent Williams, I see that as like an opportunity to be like, great on great. And it's like, he has so much respect in the league. And it's like, I see that as an opportunity to like show like against another great guy, what I'm capable of. So it doesn't scare me, it excites me.
What about when you join a new team? Because we saw that when you joined the Seahawks, you've been traded twice. Mm-hmm. Is that nerve-wracking?
I definitely think that's nerve-wracking. You're coming into a new building. You don't know what the culture is like. You don't know what the guys are like in the building. You don't know how they're going to accept you, things like that. So, the best thing you can do is in those situations, just come in and be yourself. And, I think last year I tried to just come in and be myself. There's a lot of stuff going on that I can't control. So in those situations, I just try to control the controllables. And that's just coming into work every day with the same energy and working hard,
We hear that so often, though. I'm really glad that you said that. But I feel like we hear that so often, just be yourself. And then I know that there are times, I'll be honest, when I met you the first time, because it's mid-season, right? I always count on training camp and just kind of like warming up that space, right? You come in mid-season, I know that you are gonna be a playmaker. I know that we're gonna have to talk. And I worry that you're not gonna like me, right? And you're like trying to do this on the fly, and it's like, well, be yourself. Okay, what if you don't like that? Or what if I come on too strong? Or what if
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, like mentally, right?
Yeah. So like for everybody else who's in a new workspace or something, they're like, just be yourself.
Like it sounds.
How do you exactly. know if it's working?
Exactly. I'm not sure. I think there's ways that I can like figure out the type of feedback the type of the way the guys are accepting me after a while. You kind of start. It's like a way of getting feedback. Is like how are the guys being with me so far? Things like that.
Here's what I found fascinating. So you told us that you did not start playing football until you were 14.
Right.
Which means that you were a freshman in high school. Mm-hmm. By the time you got to college as a freshman, not only did you start, 9 games as a freshman at SC?
Yeah.
But you were also Pac-12 Freshman of the Year?
Yes.
How'd you do that in 9 games?
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember getting my first start against Hawaii. I believe it was against Hawaii. And, Coach Ogeron was my defensive line coach, who was one of my favorite coaches of all time to this day.
Can you understand what he says?
I can, because I got to know him, but when I first met him, there was definitely some like reading between the lines that I had to do. It was like kind of hard to understand his accent. Don't kill me, Coach O, I'm on your side. But yeah, he was a great guy to play for, and he got me ready as a freshman to go out there and have a successful year. And that was another one of those situations where coming all the way from Florida, all the way to California, like meeting new coaches, meeting in a new environment. Like I'm young, I don't know what to expect. And it's like, I have no choice but to just be myself and just work hard.
So at what point did you know that you were going to be a starter?
It was like kind of through camp. I was showing some good flashes of like, I can do this at this level, because, coming from high school to college, that's obviously a question you face, when you're going to the next level. Same thing from college to the NFL. So I started getting these like small examples of like, oh, I can do this at this level, So my confidence just kept growing through there. And, having a great D-line coach like Coach Ogeron, like I said, he was, I just soaked up everything that he was willing to teach me. And I think around like game 3, I started getting more play time. And then game 3 was like, I like really got more reps and I had a really good game. And then that following game was when I started.
What makes a good coach a good coach?
I think just accountability. He held us accountable, held himself accountable. He wanted us to hold him accountable as well. And I think at that time I thrived with someone like being on top of me all the time. He was on top of me about school. He was on top of me about being in the weight room. He was on top of me about, just respecting coaches and like people in the building and all that type of stuff. So I think the accountability was big for me.
Did you have a backup plan to football?
I didn't have a backup plan until I got to college. Once I got to college, I started studying business. And, you know, being at USC is a great school, private school. And, you know, they were big on teaching us that it's hard to get into the NFL. You know, it's a very small percentage. Some would even say it's luck or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of talent, skill level, dedication, and all these other great values to like make it to the NFL. And, you know, they try to teach us like, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket with the NFL because you might not make it, you know?
So you went to USC intending just to play football.
Yes.
And then you got there and that's when you declared a major?
That's right.
How many colleges offered you?
I remember by the time it was like my senior year, my mom was almost getting sick of the amount of like letters I was taking home, which is so funny because, you know, when I first started getting scholarships, she was like, this is amazing. Like I couldn't have paid for college otherwise,
right.
You know, without getting a scholarship. So in the beginning, it was just like one of the most beautiful things. I was getting letters from like small colleges and was just like, oh my God, you know. But then I remember I went to a camp at Alabama and Nick Saban seen me in person and offered me at that camp, and then after that, it was.
Wait, he just like walked up to you and was like, "Hey,
no,
you got a scholarship?"
Like, I mean, it was kind of like that actually. It was like a huge football camp where like all these high schools meet up at Alabama, and we have like a 3-day like camp against each other where we're doing like one-on-ones, like O-line versus D-line drills and stuff like that. And then that third day, someone grabbed me on the Alabama staff and was like, "Hey, like Nick Saban wants to meet you in his office." So he like brought me into his office and Nick Saban just like, you know, looked me in my eyes and was like, "We're gonna offer you to come to our school." And it was a beautiful moment for me. And then after that, it was pretty much every college in the country. I had like trash bags, like huge hefty trash bags of letters, like almost
I thought you were gonna say money. They only do that now, folks. They only do that now.
No.
I went to SMU. I know all about this. If you're a sports fan, you know. So then what tipped the scales towards SC?
Coach Orgeron, actually. After going to that Alabama camp, I realized how much exposure it helped me get, how much just technique I learned while I was at those camps and stuff like that. So I started going to a lot more camps, and then USC was one of the schools I was considering. So I went to one of the camps at USC, and that's when I had an opportunity to be coached by Coach O, and he was a great recruiter. And, you know, I was like, I want to play for this guy. So he was a huge reason why I went to LA. And then Nickel Roby, shout out to Nickel Roby, he played in the league for like 9 years, I believe. And he was a guy from Florida that hosted me on my visit to USC and was another big part of bringing me to USC.
What mark do you think you're going to make in business when you're done with the NFL? So you went to business school, right?
Yeah, I did go to business school.
Okay, so what mark are you going to make in business?
You know, I've been talking a lot about that with my fiancée, with my financial advisor, with my agent, just, you know, my close circle about, you know, post-football ideas and things like that. And I definitely want to take advantage of, you know, the business studies. And I want to open up, like I also want to take advantage of my hobbies. I'm like into a lot of different hobbies. Like I'm into spearfishing. I'm into like collecting cards and playing cards and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you going to turn that into a business?
Yeah, so for a while.
What kind of cards are we talking about?
Like baseball cards, football cards, sports cards, like Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards.
Cassius Marsh was into Magic.
Cassius Marsh was into Magic, and he actually has a great business going right now as well.
So you make it like a card shop?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
A card shop, yeah. I think I might start it off. I've actually already been talking about names and things like that, so we're going to call it Big Cat Collectibles. I think that has a good ring to it.
It does.
And we're going to start off with like an online business and then eventually try to create a storefront depending on where I end up living full time when I'm done playing football.
What's the favorite place you've traveled?
Bali was actually one of the favorite places I traveled. It was really cool for me to see my fiance like doing what she does because, you know, most of the time we're in season. She's always at all the games. She's the one kind of being in the supportive role. So it was cool for it to be like vice versa on this retreat. And I was the one in the supportive role. Like after classes, like she pretty much has fans like running up to her and like telling her how amazing she is. So I'm like,
she is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it's cool for me to share her in that way. And then
she's gonna make a cameo, folks. She's gonna make a cameo.
And then Japan was another one of my favorites, which was also right after Bali. I figured they were close enough.
Are they close?
They're close enough.
What does close enough mean? I've never been to Bali. I've been to Japan
I think
twice.
it was about 5 or 6
that's
hours away.
Enough. I mean, if you're already over there, it's
yeah,
close
exactly.
enough.
If you're already on that side, you might as well make a stop in Japan.
Yeah, I agree. You're adventurous then when you eat food in these countries, right?
Yes, I'm very adventurous with exploring, adventuring, and also eating. I love trying. Like for me, that's a great way of exploring someone's culture is like trying their food. Yeah. It says a lot about their culture, in my opinion. So when I was in Japan, it's like the sushi is like, you could tell the level of respect and perfection they put into their craft in Japan by the way they make their sushi. You know what I mean?
Did you eat it for breakfast?
I ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. It's a little hardcore to eat it for breakfast every day, but it is really good.
Yeah, I mean that 3rd or 4th week, it was kind of hard to eat fish for breakfast, right. I will admit.
I actually would go to the McDonald's. Don't tell, I mean, like, you kind of have to, like, you just want to.
Yeah, sometimes you kind of need something that just feels familiar.
Yeah.
When you're in a country for long enough and you're just trying all these new foods, you're like, okay, I need a burger or something like that, you know?
I do have a question. What's the story behind your first tattoo? And what was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was on this arm, actually. A tribute to my brother on my dad's side. He passed away when I was in like high school, like 15 years old, I think. And then like shortly after, I got a tattoo and after high school. And yes, that was my first tattoo.
And then everything just gets incorporated off of that?
Yeah, and then once I got to college, like me and a lot of my teammates, it almost became like a thing between like me and my teammates. Like we were just like going and getting tattoos, and it like almost like the whole locker room kind of like just got into this, like we kind of just started liking tattoos, and then that's how it happened.
Do you still like the tattoos that you got with your teammates? And also, who's coming up with the ideas of what tattoos? Because
that's a good question.
Cannot come up with something that I want for forever.
Yeah, I definitely still have a few tattoos that are like, I love them. Like I have a lion tattoo on this hand, and like I have like a dragon on my leg that I really like. There's a few tattoos that I love, but overall, I wouldn't recommend my future son or little brother to get too many tattoos.
So, there's just too many questions there. There's just too many questions. I think what we should actually do. I know, like, so there's a whole bunch of ink on your arms that you wish wasn't there?
No, not that I wish wasn't there, but I wouldn't recommend my little brother or my future son to, get tattoos. That's all I'm saying.
Any tattoos or all the tattoos?
If they wanted tattoos, I'm gonna support them. They're gonna see me with tattoos.
Exactly.
So it's like, point. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I don't regret my tattoos at all. No.
Okay.
No.
I feel like there's some.
Do you have any tattoos?
I do not have any tattoos. I can't figure out what I would want.
Yeah.
It's for life. I am a real type A personality, but I'm real indecisive when it comes to permanent ink. Also, I can imagine myself just getting like a freckle, like a dot, and being like, I'm good. I don't need to be stuck with any more needles. Thanks.
A freckle.
It would just turn out to be a freckle.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we try this? I Cook, You Measure is presented by Safeway, who welcomes everyone at the table through the Nourishing Neighbors program. You can donate in stores or by visiting nourishingneighbors.com.